UNICEF works in over 190 countries and territories to protect children's rights. Joining me live now is the UNICEF spokesperson in Gaza, Tess Ingram. Good evening to you, Tess. I believe you've been in Gaza for around 48 hours now. Can you describe what you're seeing?
It's absolute bedlam here in Rafah, Janie. About 1.5 million people are estimated to be living here in this most southern part of the Gaza Strip after being forced to evacuate from the north and middle areas of Gaza where the bombardments have been the most intense. And the streets here in Rafah are incredibly overcrowded. There are so many people living in makeshift shelters, such as built from plastic tarpaulins and blankets and ropes. And one family that I met yesterday, there was 21 of them, extended family, living in a probably 2 by 2 meters makeshift shelter. It's been raining for the last 48 hours, and so these shelters are very wet and muddy, and the people in them are incredibly cold, hungry, and exhausted from, over 3 months of fighting now.
We're hearing people are having to have operations with no anesthetic. Is that still happening? What is happening with other aid?
Yeah, it's true, unfortunately, that children and women have had to have operations without anaesthetic. I heard of a 17-year-old girl in Shifa hospital in the north who had her leg amputated without any anaesthetic. And also today I spoke to a woman who had a cesarian without any anaesthetic. So it is the stuff of absolute nightmares, and it's due to a real shortage of aid and supplies getting into the Gaza Strip. We've been trying the UN to get in as much as we can, but there are restrictions on what we can bring in. The process of examining the items in every truck is incredibly slow. So the trickle of aid getting across the border is barely enough to meet the needs, which are escalating every single day. And then once we get the aid in, we have extra challenges of navigating an ongoing conflict to try and get the aid to the women and the children that need it. So that's why UNICEF and other groups have been calling for an immediate ceasefire so that the fighting can stop, peace can come to Gaza, and we can distribute the aid that's so desperately needed.
What about food? We have heard that there hasn't been enough food. What are you seeing?
There really hasn't been enough food. Most people that I've spoken to have said that they're relying on cans of tinned food that are being distributed by aid agencies. There are informal markets popping up here in Rafah where people are trading things and buying goods, but the cost of things is so much more expensive than it was 3 months ago because of obviously the supply and demand equation. People don't have cash because they're not earning an income. And so the ability for people to access food is incredibly limited. We did a survey of 2,000 children under 2 and their families. And those 2,000 children, 90% of them were only getting milk and bread to eat each day. So it's really dangerous for children's nutritional needs, particularly small children as they grow and for their brain development. So we're worried about the risk of severe acute malnutrition in children here in Gaza, and of course the risk of famine.
What about the mental health? Again, UNICEF works in over 190 countries and territories to protect children's rights. We're hearing the effects of mental health across places in Israel, all across the Middle East, of course, and no doubt the hostages and their families taken by Hamas on October 7. The mental health is just, I can imagine, no words could describe it.
It's exactly, there are no words. We run out of adjectives, don't we? I think the situation has many layers, right? When you think about the ongoing fear and tension that children in the Middle East have to endure on a daily basis. We're hearing about the risk of escalation of conflict in the Middle East. I think for children throughout the region, feeling like the fabric that protects them of their communities in their region, the risk of that falling apart is obviously very scary, no matter where they are. And then, of course, for the children who have been directly impacted by this conflict, whether as hostages or as children being affected by the ongoing fighting in the Gaza Strip, this is going to have repercussions for years to come. For the children that we're able to access in Gaza, we're providing mental health services and recreational activities to try and get ahead of some of those issues, to give the children something to do during the day, to forget the fear and express their emotions in a healthy way.
Tess Ingram, spokesperson in Gaza for UNICEF, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Janie.